Well, good morning, everyone. It's Joan Robison. I want to welcome you to the Leader Lowdown, and I'm super excited to have my friend and special guest here, seven-figure earner, Brynn Lang. Woohoo! She is in the house. Let's give her a big hand. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
I love it. We gotta do the whoop whoops. I'm a whoop
Right?
whoop.
I got to do the whoop, whoop. Gosh, I just have to say, I've had this funky cold. So I am so glad that I get to interview you today and you get to share all your wisdom. I want to just take a moment before we get started and just share a little bit about you. I have to say that I met Brynn, gosh, it must have been maybe 3+ years ago at a Rob Sperry event. And you kind of like funky and I kind of like funky. And I remember you were like, hey, where'd you get that zip up hoodie? And, it's just so funny the way that we connect sometimes with people and you never know, right? So that's a clue, those of you guys out there listening, that sometimes it could be an authentic way of looking at what somebody's wearing or, something that you notice about them. And can spark a new relationship. You just never know. So before we get started, I just want to welcome, like I said, everyone to Leader Lowdown. And if you're new to the Flip the Switch community, I want to welcome you. This is a group where like-minded leaders from really around the globe come here to learn more about igniting their own inner brilliance so that they can attract and develop leaders. And what we focus on here are best practices to grow your business to 6 and 7 figures. And then, of course, I get the opportunity to interview people like Brynn, who is going to share her brilliance around really that home and hustle. And Brynn, I want to just start off by saying thank you so much for taking your time. I know that you're a busy woman. And rather than have me tell all about you, I would love for you just to tell our group a little bit about yourself. And then I've got some questions I got for you.
Yeah, well, I'm so excited. Whoop, whoop. Brynn Lang in the house. I got to do my little thing in the beginning.
Right?
I'm going to go ahead and apologize to all y'all for all this yawning. Like, y'all see my new shirt. I'm so excited.
Ooh.
We actually just went to see Toto and Journey in concert, and I am such a grandma. Like, I am a grandma. I am in bed. I'm literally in my bed every night by 7:30. That doesn't mean I go to sleep that early, but I'm in the bed by 7:30. So going to a concert.
Right.
And then trying to catch an Uber afterwards. We didn't get back to the hotel until, it was probably 12:30, 12:45. So I'm a little verklempt, a little tired over here. So I apologize for the yawning if I yawn while I'm on here. But yeah, I'm so excited to be here. I love Joan. You guys are in such great hands with Joan. She is absolutely brilliant. She is one of the most incredible leaders that I've had the opportunity to get to meet and to get to have pour into me. So the cool thing about this is we get to learn from each other. And I love that because it's totally a rising tide raises all ships. So a little bit about me. I have been an entrepreneur, an online entrepreneur since 2014. I always said I would never, ever, 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 ever be an entrepreneur. My family growing up, we owned restaurants and they were very successful for a long period of time. And we had all the things, right? We had ski boat and the RV, and we had the big house on 2.5 acres, and we had an Olympic sized pool and a beach volleyball court. We had a batting cage. We had an indoor baseball. We had everything, multiple vehicles. And it's living the life, teenage years. You're I'm amazing. Right. Well, my junior year of high school, we ended up having to close down one of our restaurants, which was a different concept. And we had to file bankruptcy. And we went from having everything to literally everything getting foreclosed and the bank taking away to us moving into this house that had cottage cheese ceiling and brown carpet. And I was so embarrassed. I was so embarrassed being a teenager, nobody's allowed to come to my house. Right. And so it really put this stain for me on entrepreneurism. I'm like, I will never do that. I will always look for something steady, something sturdy. Like I'm going to go to college. I'm going to have a career, right? Like, you know, what most of us are taught to do. And so I did those things. And I actually ended up going into food sales when I graduated college, met my husband, who was a restaurant owner.
Oh.
You think, you know, I'm like, no, never, especially not restaurants, right? And we got married, and he is like a serial entrepreneur. It's the way his mind works. And he'd be like, Brynn Lang, you're like, you love to work out. Why don't you open your own gym? You love to read, open a bookstore. And I'm like, no, I know what it takes to keep the lights on. I know the type of hours you have to put in. Like, I know what happens if it doesn't work out. No.
Right.
But the right day, the right person on the right day at the right time said just the right thing to me, right? We hear this all the time. And at the time, I had gone out of food sales and I went into personal training, and I was working from like 4 a.m. until 8 o'clock at night, dragging my kid in and out of the gym. Never saw my husband. He was always work. We didn't have enough money, and we certainly didn't have a lot of time. And my friend walked into the gym, and he was so excited. He looked at me. He's like, Brynn Lang, dude, I just bought socks without checking my bank account. And I was like, I have to check my bank account for everything. In fact, the week before, I had been standing in Target staring at a pair of shoes for my then 5-year-old and asking myself if I could make his shoes stretch another week because I couldn't afford them. And so, like, when he said that, I was like, well, maybe I should stop being a total asshole and I should look into something different.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just wasn't aware there was other types of entrepreneurism outside of brick and mortar. It just had never been presented to me. And so I entered the world of network marketing. That was my beginning. And I sucked. I sucked balls, man. I didn't know what I was doing. My upline didn't know what they were doing. Their upline didn't know what they were doing. But I was okay with starting at suck. I started to catch a vision of what it might be for my family. And so I just plugged in everywhere I could into groups and coaching like Joan offers, like I offer, right? Like I just started getting all the knowledge I could get anywhere I could get it because my uplines didn't know anything, and just taking crazy, massive action. And so go ahead.
Wait, I got to say something, Brynn, because, you know, this happens a lot. Now, I know this isn't really our subject, but this is something that I know you get and I get a lot, which is what happens if I join with an upline that maybe either has not had a lot of success or maybe they're just not working the business anymore. We can either kind of be in that victim, like, you know, they don't do it for me and, you know, I need and blah, blah, blah. But what I want to ask you is talk a little bit more about that and what you did, which is, I mean, I just heard you say a little bit, but what you did, because these are things that people really, truly, as leaders and developing leaders, or maybe emerging leaders, you need to hear this. Because Brynn, I also, like you, when I joined my first network marketing company, I didn't have an upline. That person ended up going into the corporate office. So I had to seek out a coach, and just kind of like you, but give them your kind of take on that type of thing.
Yeah, well, one thing I will tell you guys, you're going to find out really fast. I am not a fluffer. So I will not fluff you. I'm a real talker. And honestly, suck it up.
Yeah, right?
I mean, I really, you know, if you joined this industry because you were looking for something and you wanted to create that, there is literally zero excuse not to. There's so much knowledge out there. And let me just be 100. I didn't even invest in myself for years. I went to YouTube and I was on Periscope, right? Back in the Periscope. Yeah. I was on Periscope and I was watching Facebook Lives, and I was going out there and I was seeking the people who had the life that I wanted. Already created what I wanted. Now, of course, I definitely ended up investing in myself because I think it's one of the stupidest things you could do is not investing in yourself. And we can go into that later too. But I really just, I caught a vision of what I wanted, and I decided not to feel sorry for myself because none of us knew what the hell we were doing. I knew that if I wanted XYZ, I needed to go out and find the people who already did XYZ and learn from them. It just was that simple. And once again, did that mean that I automatically took off or I automatically became amazing? No, a lot of people get stuck in the training hole, which is so dumb. I just literally would listen to something, and before I moved my ass out of my chair, I put one thing that I learned into action. Right. Doing that. And then every day at the end of the day, I'd sit down and I'd get my notebook, and I still do it every day. And I'd write out, okay, what worked today? This. What did I totally suck at? Where did people get mad at me? Where did that conversation suck balls? How can I improve it?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me do a little bit different tomorrow and get a little bit better. And that's essentially how I heard.
No matter what, I don't care, you guys, if you've ever felt this way that Brynn's, sharing, give us a little bit of love. Put a little heart, drop a heart in the comments, because this is so common. And I think when people come from the employee mindset over to the entrepreneur mindset, they don't realize all we're doing all day, every day is tweaking and trying, tweaking and trying, tweaking and trying, which is the same thing as trying to find a way that works and taking action, right? It's the life of entrepreneurship. Also, that's why I never use the word fail. I don't even like that word. It makes me not feel good. So I just say, all I'm doing every day is practicing. I'm going to suit up, I'm going to show up, and I'm going to practice, right?
Yeah. That's what the greats do.
Yeah.
Look at Tom Brady.
Yeah.
He ever missed a practice day?
Right.
He's practicing
every single day. And this is what I think people, in my opinion, I'm sounding a little all-knowing, and forgive me for that, but no matter what, if you want to be good at something, whether it's cooking, being a mom, being a wife, exercise, you got to freaking do the do. It's the same thing over here. It doesn't just miraculously occur for anybody, does it?
Yeah. And I think the hardest thing for most people is they're so afraid to fail that they never even do anything in the first place. But the only way you're guaranteed to fail is to not do anything.
It's to not do it.
You have to be okay with starting at suck. And then you have to embrace the suck as well, because essentially you might suck for a while and it's going to be pretty hard. I mean, let's be 100. It was not easy for me to build 2 7-figure.
Well, I mean,
simultaneously.
No. And you know what, Brynn and I actually, before this even started, had a little chat offline where I'm telling her, I'm like, my God, there's certain things I'm pulling my hair out. And she's like, I get it, Joan. I get it. It's hard to do, your company and your brand at one time, but just understanding that someone else has been there before you is also hope. It gives you hope that you're not all alone, that there are solutions, and you learn over the years to keep pushing forward. Back when I started, Brynn, it was 22 years ago, and I literally
down.
I don't know about that, because things are so different. But what I'll say is, we literally didn't even.
What you had to do 22 years ago is one of the reasons you're such a badass.
Yeah,
is because people these days have got to learn weak and lazy tactics and marketing, where we couldn't do that back when we started.
No. I mean, in those days, boy, you were creating relationships, and you were, systems and
but that's what it still should be. It's
I was just going to say, right. You can get lazy with systems and become transactional. There's that. But what will never go away, and what I always get humbled and reminded of, is I'm only one person, but I'd rather have 5 to 10 great contacts, nurture those, than have 100 spammy pammy type deals, right? Mm-hmm. All right, I want to get into the subject though, because I could talk to you obviously for hours. I can see this. So I want to get right into the subject, be respectful of your time, because I'm so thrilled you're here. So we're going to talk a little bit about balancing home and hustle. The majority of people, Brynn, that I coach, they always say to me, Joan, I'm trying to find the balance. I'm trying to find the balance, whether it's between the other job, their home life, you know, the side hustle or the full hustle, whatever it is, they want to find the balance. What would you say to someone like that, just right out the gates with something like that? What's the balance, Brynn?
Balance is bullshit.
Right?
there's strategy to it. I will tell you that. But if you're always chasing after balance, you're always going to feel out of whack. Let's just be 100. But, you know, going back to, you know, kind of my story and how this all came to fruition for me is, you know, 4 years into building my network marketing business, I was exhausted.
Sure.
I was on my phone all day long doing 3-way calls, you know, walking out of movie theaters, missing baseball games, you know, all the things. I mean, I was either in people's homes or I was traveling on the weekends. And, you know, what I had gotten into was for, you know, more freedom. I was working way more than I ever did, you know, in a full-time job. And so things came to a head for me, honestly, when my kid at this time, he was 8, and he literally told me he didn't think I loved him anymore because I was always working and I never paid attention to him. And so for me at that point, like, once again, I'm like, I don't want to do entrepreneurism anymore. I just need to go back. I need to get a real job. Like, I need to change this. But then, you know, after lots of prayer, I realized, no, there's parts of this industry that are broken, and I need to be a part of fixing those things. Right. I need to teach myself first how to do it. And then I need to go out there and I need to teach as many other people how to do it as well. And so having that moment was really important for me when it came to realizing that I can't create balance, right? Because there are going to be different seasons in your life where you're more in hustle mode, and there are going to be different seasons in your life when you're more in freedom mode, right? Mm-hmm. Like, at the end of the day, balance would mean you're completely balanced in everything. Well, I don't spend the same amount of time every day working my business, hanging out with my spouse, hanging out with my kid, getting a workout in. But what I did realize is all those things had a very important space in my life. So what I did in the beginning was the first thing I had to realize is what is most important to me. Right. And so I would ask those of you on here, do you really know in your life what is most important to you? Because if you don't, you are going to not only say yes to 10 million things, and if you say yes to everything, you say no to a lot of the things that are actually important to you. Right. And you're going to burn out. You're going to burn out trying to do it all. And so once I got really clear on what those things were for me, when I sat down and I thought, what is really important to me? I realized that was my faith, my family, my health, and my business. And so I started saying, okay, from now on, if it doesn't feed me in those areas, if it doesn't grow me in those areas, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And so what I did once I figured that out was I challenged myself, and I challenge all of you to do this as well, to go 3 days and write down everything that you do, everything. And so after those 3 days, I went back through and I started asking myself, with everything that I was doing, was this something 1A I had to do? Because let's be 100, there are things in life that you have to do that you don't necessarily want to do. Right. So I can get those things done, right? I still got to go to the dentist, clean those pearly whites, you know. And B, was this feeding me or growing me in those areas? And what I found was I was doing a lot of shit that I didn't have to do and wasn't feeding me. And so that was a really easy way to start cutting a bunch of stuff out of my life that was wasting a bunch of unnecessary time for me. And I challenge you guys to do this, because I found I spent a hell of a lot of time scrolling on social media. I spent way more hours than I needed to watching TV at night. Right. where I instead decided to replace some of that time with things that fed me in the other areas. I got more intentional with my workouts. I got more intentional with my time with my spouse. I got more intentional with my family time. I certainly got a hell of a lot more intentional with the hours in which I was spending in my business. And so that's really how all of this came to be for me. And that was how I started moving more towards quote unquote balance.
More toward the balance. Yeah. Well, and I like that you said that, because literally before I even got on this call, I thought to myself, what is my balance? And I agree with you. Sometimes I'm working in a running mode. Sometimes I'm working in a spurt mode. Sometimes I'm working in more of what I would call a momentum mode. There's kind of all different kinds of modes that you're working. And I have never worked full press court, right? Just one mode the whole time. So the one thing I wanted to ask you about was, don't you believe that when you do find what works for you, it feels good?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. Energy is everything. Okay. What we do in our industry is, I hope you're okay.
Keep talking.
What we do in our industry is a constant transfer of energy, belief. Go ahead. Vision. I just can I get a cough drop over here? Can I get some cough medicine? Hey, snippity snap, bring it on over. Oh my gosh, I feel so bad for you right now, Joan. I'm just gonna keep talking while you're over there cleaning up that throat mess you got going on. But energy is everything, and it's so important for us to fill our own energy cup and to make sure that we are cutting out anything that drains that energy, right? And so once again, going back to the things that are most important to me, I realized that these are all the things that fill my cup, right? It fills my cup when I spend quality time on my business. It fills my cup when I spend quality time on my health. It fills my cup when I'm spending quality time with my kid or with my spouse, right? What doesn't fill my cup, what drains my cup, is when I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off and I have no organization and I don't have specific time set aside for each of these areas that matter to me most. Tell me, does this sound familiar to y'all? Because this, I remember an exact day like this, and tell me in the comments if this sounds like you. Okay. I remember the exact day. It was a Thursday, and I was still working my full-time job, and I had started my network marketing business, and I was getting off work. I was trying to get home really fast. I had to go pick up my kid from daycare because I had to get on a Zoom within, an hour and a half of getting home. And I knew I still had to cook dinner. I still had to help my kid with his homework, right? And so I get my kid out of the car really fast. I sit him down at the table. I get him started on my homework. I walk into the kitchen and I start getting my stuff together to do dinner. And I get the stuff on the stove. And my kid's over here and he's asking me 10 million questions about his freaking homework, which math, right? And at the same time, I'm over here, I'm stirring the rice. It's starting to boil. And I'm oh shit, I have the Zoom and I forgot to send my invites out. And so I get on my phone and I'm trying to get all my invites set out. And then the freaking light bulb goes off in my head. And I'm oh my gosh, I forgot to put the stuff from the washer into the dryer. And if I don't do that, nobody's gonna have any clothes tomorrow. So I run over into the laundry room and I go to get the stuff from the washer to put in the dryer. And then all of a sudden the smoke alarm goes off because I left the rice on the stove. And then my kid starts crying. My dog starts barking. And then my freaking husband walks in the door and he's hey, honey, what's for dinner? And I'm I just want to, I quit. Right? Do any of you relate to that? Because that's what life looks like when you don't get super intentional with your time and you don't get organized with putting everything in its place. And that's what I teach people how to do, because otherwise you get to the end of the day and you want to pull your hair out because you feel like you did a cajillion things, but let's be 100, nothing even got done.
And especially, I love what you said. Nothing got done that really matters when it comes to your business. See, so many times when I'm coaching with people, and this is, again, it's just a simple fact. I will ask people, tell me, what are your business hours? Tell me how you're scheduling your business. That is one of the first questions I will ask people. And I can tell, because I can read the energy. No, I can tell by the way they answer what's going on.
Yep.
The majority of people do not keep planners. I mean, I do it old school. That's just me. I like a planner where I can see the month, I can see the day, but I've also got a Calendly and some other things that I do on my phone. I don't care how people do it, but if you don't schedule your time, the likelihood of that item getting done is slim to none, because too many things and distractions come in to people's lives. And all of a sudden they're like, Joan, I don't know how that 2 hours got eaten up. And then what it takes me back to, Brynn, is I love what you shared. Take the 3-day test. Write down, what is it that you're actually doing? Just be honest with yourself. If you want to get better at being you, you've got to be aware of what you're doing and what you're not doing, so that you're able to incorporate, right, what you should be doing in order to accomplish what you want.
Yes.
Right.
And I'm guessing that probably the majority of the people in this group and watching, wherever you're watching this, the majority of people are not working their network marketing business full time. They have full-time jobs.
Right.
They've got kids, which have sports and all kinds of extracurriculars, and one thing that I truly, truly believe in is get your ass up earlier. Okay. Because what I truly believe in the law of diminishing intent. And for a lot, look, I love working. I love the fact that I've built my businesses so that I can work them full time and I can wake up when I'm done sleeping.
Yeah.
But I earned that.
Yeah.
I earned that.
That wasn't day one, guys. That wasn't day one.
So I want you to understand, here's what the law of diminishing intent states. Okay. So we can have great intentions to work our business.
Sure.
Right? We have great intentions to do the things that we need to do every day to move our business forward. What happens is the longer you wait to act on those intentions is the less likely that you will actually get it done. Because what happens? Exactly what I was just talking about. You go to work, you get busy, your boss puts more stuff on your desk, right? Finally, it's lunchtime, but you're still catching up on the paperwork that you missed from, the day before, or God forbid, you have to, actually eat food on your lunch break and take a breath because you're working all day, right? But then you get home and you've got to make sure that the laundry's done and that the food's on the table and that your kids get to their sports and stuff. And then you get to the end of the day and it's like, you're exhausted. And the last thing you want to do is work your business. And you say, I'll just do it tomorrow. Right. Well, tomorrow turns into next week, turns into next month, turns into next year. Right. So get your ass up earlier in the morning. Even if, hear me this, even if it's only 30 minutes of intentional time where you are focused in on your business, all outside distractions are not there. Right. You will be 10 times further ahead of anybody trying to work that shit in the nooks and crannies of their day and trying to fit it in anywhere. And guess what? You'll feel better too. You'll have more energy, just like you were talking about.
One of the things that I talk about is myself, like you. I did exactly that from the beginning. And, even now, I still get up at 5 a.m. I prefer it. Now, I've been a little sick lately, so I've been kind of doing a sleep-in deal because my body needed it. But I love getting up early because my phone isn't blowing up, right? It's not quiet. Yeah, and I feel like I'm getting out ahead of my day. Almost like, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I'm up and no one really knows, right? But that is the time where I really get focused, because not only am I getting up a little earlier, but that's when my brain is at its freshest. I've realized, because, like a lot of people, I've got a few things going, and by the time 2 or 3 o'clock in my time zone rolls around, my brain doesn't work the same as it did at 5 or 6 a.m.
Yep.
It just doesn't. So if I'm at my best first thing in the morning, often what I'll also do is do the things that I don't want to do first to get them out of the way. And then what I also recognize is by the time 8 or 9 o'clock rolls around, I'm feeling pretty good, that I've already gotten a lot accomplished. And, some people are just waking up or, just really starting to get into the chats or different things that we do in our business. Tell me a little bit about how you would really help somebody if they were just willing to do 30 minutes, Brynn. What would you suggest that they did in that 30 minutes of time?
Yeah, that's a great question. By the way, I will say this. Some of you might be listening to this and go, there's no way. I am not a morning person. My brain does not work in the morning. Like I've never been. I get it. My husband literally goes to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning and doesn't get up until 10 or 11. He's always been in the restaurant industry. It's the way he's wired.
It's a big deal.
Different. But if you would ask him, he's most creative and his brain works the best at night.
Yeah.
So let me preface the law of diminishing intent. If you can't get your crap together and you're struggling to even show up for your business and you constantly have excuses, get your ass up early no matter what. Yeah. But if you're already getting stuff done and you got it and you feel like your bang time, that's what I call it, your bang time is at night, then feel free to have your focused, intentional business time at night. But sometimes, once again, that has to be earned because sometimes a lot of y'all didn't put enough time and effort in to be able to do that yet, because by the end of the day, you're not going to do it. So if you only have 30 minutes, I would say probably the most important thing 100% is always going to be creating new conversations. Talking to people and inviting them to take a look. Yeah. That's it. I mean, literally you can not do anything else. Like you might go, well, but what about my content on social media? A lot of people built businesses for a really long time before there was social media. And they did it by having conversations with people and inviting them to take a look. Those are the two things you have to do every single day. I don't care how you do it, whether you do it in person, great. You love in person, great. Whether you do it on social media, great. Do it on social media. I can't stand to talk to people in person. I'm a severe introvert. You won't catch me dead trying to invite somebody to take a look at my business in person. But that might be your jam, right? But at the end of the day, if you only have 30 minutes, if you only have an hour, if you only have 5 hours, the two things you never slack on are having great conversations and inviting people to take a look.
Yep. I love it. The other thing I was thinking about when you said that is so many companies have incredible success plans. There's these different, one-page success plans, how to build your business in less than an hour, blah, blah, blah. The companies that have those, which like I said, is the majority of companies, you'll notice on there that it literally lays out the actual tasks that you should be doing in order to build the successful business. The difference between somebody like Brynn and the brand new person is not much when it comes to the daily DMOs of building a business. Because guys, when you look at the big picture of your business, 30% are coming, 30% are staying, and 30% are going. Coming, going, staying. So it's a constant flux. You don't just arrive and quit inviting people to take a look. You also don't just arrive and quit talking about your products. It doesn't work that way. Brynn is just probably more comfortable than the brand new person because she's been doing it repetitively, practicing the skills over and over and over. So it probably appears like, well, it's easy for you. But we all started with the same success plan that your company started with.
Yep.
And I also want to just say too, is you hit on something at the beginning that I think is so, I see it all the time. Most people sell themselves the excuse that they're just not good at it. You know, I'm just not a salesperson, or I'm just not this, or I'm just not that. This is what I say. Great leaders ask for goals. Good leaders ask for goals. Great leaders ask, what do you want? See, you mentioned it, Brynn, in your own way at the beginning. You have to know what you are driving for. Like, it doesn't have anything maybe to do with your business per se. Okay, the goals are logical, but I'm talking about what makes your heart tick. You know, you had a son that was like, Mom, you don't love me anymore. You're like, things have to freaking change. I had a son who was like catching me doing 2 pages, you know, of the storybook, and it was like missing chunks of the story.
Yeah, because you were trying to get through it fast. Yeah.
Things needed to change. So I just want to kind of come out there to all of you listening right now. And I want you to get brave. I want you to get creative and courageous. Now, I want you to think about the courage that you've got in here. Don't give up on you. Figure it out. But it starts with figuring out what is most important to you. What makes you tick? Then I guarantee you, once you can really look at that and make a decision that, you know, you're going to go for that, you're not going to settle for less. In fact, you're going to settle for freaking more.
Yes.
You'll do the company success plan.
Yes.
Because it'll only take you an hour a day.
And I'll say this, because we're going to end on this, and I'm going to tell you why. You just said, right? Figure out what it is that you really want, what makes your heart tick.
Mm-hmm.
I'm about to get off of here because I built my life around being able to walk out of my house, walk down to the bus stop, and meet my kid who's almost 14, who still wants me to walk him home from the bus because he knows that he gets quality time with me. And we've built an amazing relationship since that day because that was my goal. That's what I wanted. And so I'm going to end it on this. I got to scoop my butt right on out of here and walk to the bus stop because I'm going to hang out with my teenager now.
I love it.
Time. But I want to say this, Joan, you're amazing. I'm so thankful to have you in my corner and that you found me valuable enough to share me with your people. I hope you guys found amazing value in this. I'd love to connect with you. Feel free to send me a message, right? We're all about helping each other.
Absolutely. Brynn, thank you so much. You go get your boy. I'm going to wrap up here. Thank you.
Love you, friend. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Love you so much. Thank you. All right. Okay, guys, that was Brynn Lang. And I love that, you know, she is just being right out there, upfront and honest. And, you know, it just kind of got me thinking, you know, I have gone through kind of a lot in the last couple years about, you know, writing a book and, you know, hurrying to do this and hurrying to do that. And what I kind of found in the last couple months is the quality of time that I gave up with my family and the quality of time that went into some of the different things that I did were less than what I wanted them to be. And this industry has given me the gift of being able to take a moment, get sick enough to have to really look and confront some of the different things that are still in my path to learn lessons from and evaluate, because I'm not working for anyone else but myself. And you know, every single thing that I've grown through and every single person that I've had the opportunity to work with and be a part of their amazing journey makes it so worth it. Still today, I pinch myself because I don't have to wake up to an alarm clock. I just choose to get up early in the morning because that's when it feels best for me. But there's so many different things that are available to you all now and that weren't available, way back in the day, or that have come so much further. And our industry and this channel and your companies and what you're doing to touch the lives of others is so necessary now. So I want to encourage you to be brave enough and courageous enough to find what makes your heart tick and stick with it. Stick with it long enough to see the miracles unfold for you. I want to just take a last moment and thank Brynn Lang again for joining us. And I want to thank all of you for investing in yourselves and in your time. I got a couple to-dos that I'd love to send you into action with, because truly, it's all about action. It's not about perfection. It's about practice. How many of you are going to write down for the next 3 days what you're really doing and get honest with yourselves? How many of you are going to commit to scheduling your time and your available hours? How many of you are going to really look at what is most important to you and design your life around those things? You're going to stop making excuses and you're going to start living with that intention. I'm super, super honored to be a part of this amazing industry and be considered a leader. Over the past 20 years, it's just been such an incredible journey. And I want to thank you all for being here today. Happy Wednesday. Have a great Wednesday, guys, and we'll see you next on the